Oh my gosh.
We think.
Look at us.
Anybody
Hello.
It's just us looking at ourselves.
It's just the
Hello.
three of us.
Yeah, here we are looking at ourselves.
Good evening.
What do you
Welcome.
think, Derek?
We've got Derek over on the other side checking our audio, making sure that we can be heard well.
If we are well heard, say something.
Patrick.
There we go.
Hey.
Patrick, how's our audio?
PK in the house.
How's our audio, Patrick? Derek, you're coming back. How did it sound?
Coming back. I think we sound
You need to go on the other.
real
Oh wait,
good.
no, that's the right spot.
Ooh.
We sound really good. Okay, hello. Welcome to the family meeting. Okay, we all have coffee at 6 o'clock in the evening.
I'm actually going coffeeless.
Get out of here.
No good.
Thank gosh.
You bringing us down.
Okay, Patrick says he hears us.
Excellent.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
All right, we've got a very specific agenda for today.
Yes.
Our
Take us through
Hi,
it.
Brian. Audio is delicious, Patrick says. Okay, perfect. Good. That's what I like to hear. No licking the screen. It's bad for your health.
Don't try to taste the audio.
Okay, we've got a packed agenda for tonight. Here's the agenda. That's it. we are here sitting in front of you. If you have any questions, we're going to answer them. I might ask some questions because I'm always full of them. But if you have any questions, basically we're just here to hang out. So we're bored. We don't have a lot to do.
Which we wanted to stop working.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
now we're not working.
So what are you all
This is a
doing?
break.
What's everybody else doing this evening?
Silence.
I think it's just Brian and Patrick right now.
It's just Brian and
There's people-
Patrick
there's people in
commenting.
there.
All
See-
right.
See how many viewers
All
we got.
right.
Okay, how about this?
Cool.
What are we working on right now? What did you stop working on to do the live stream?
Well,
Well, that's cute.
yeah. I was working on an update.
Uh-huh.
I'm writing an update about mechanics since we don't have playthrough videos yet.
Okay.
But then I was distracted by making a GIF. And now I'm distracted by this.
He was like,
See?
it's
Yeah.
like, I had a great
Problems
Giphy
are-
idea.
Everybody's making 1,000 gifts.
Seriously, we asked him to please come over here and join us. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm gifting hard.
Gifting hard. That's what you
I don't
said.
use that voice. I say stupid things, but
I don't know.
That's just how I perceive. That's how I
okay.
perceive you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna sit with me for a minute.
Dinah's on.
Hi, Dinah.
Hi. Okay. Question: is everyone drinking coffee at night, and who drinks it black?
I got black right
Black.
here.
All of us. Mark did ask me to bring some creamer, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
but
Denied.
I didn't
Straight
do it.
denied on the creamer.
It was too late. It was too late to get it. I like to pair my black coffee with some sort of sugar,
A pairing. It's always a pairing with Lacey.
but I've eaten a lot of cookies lately.
we have more cookies still.
Mhm.
You want more Dinah cookies?
Maybe I might
Dynamite cookies.
jump into that.
She
Amazing.
can't say no to
I
snacks.
can't really. William, hey William, he's asking us for more planets. Are we gonna have more planets?
So, yeah, I mean, the idea behind the framework is depending on how people like, what we've done, we've constructed this so that we could build endless worlds, right? So, I mean, we're not going to do that all right now, but yeah, we'd like to explore new possibilities, new mechanics, new crazy things, and I mean really bizarre, weird things as much as we can in the future. So there are some plans for that, but right now, again, we're just focused on what we have up on the Kickstarter page and making sure that it's absolutely dialed in and precise. when
How
everybody
many-
gets it.
How many ideas do we have from the community on our
Oh my
spreadsheet so
gosh.
far?
157.
We've got 157 ideas for new world concepts. So
Most of them are super viable.
yeah, like
They're
really
so
good.
cool.
So we'll never
Yeah.
have to have another idea again.
Yeah.
That's the cool part about doing a
problem
campaign.
solved.
It's like the creativity of the community just like explodes.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny
huge.
watching,
So
like,
cool.
Like Viola, who's never been a part of a Kickstarter
Oh, yeah.
before. She's like, I can't believe everybody's amazing ideas. It's so cool. She's impressed by you all. Okay.
Very.
And then an hour after spreadsheeting, just like, I can't believe everyone's amazing idea.
Okay. Brian says that he's done decorating for Christmas. Stopped by to hear a little bit more about the new game. Backed it right away. Loved Vindication. Looking forward to another great game. Oh, I love that.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, we put a lot of work into this. 3 years. So
Ryan says he pairs his black coffee with a second cup of black coffee.
boy.
Preach.
Yeah.
Are you drinking enough water too?
Yeah, you gotta hydrate.
That's
Mom's
important.
in the house.
Because listen, this is not actually hydrate you. It actually does the opposite.
She gets so
Do you know that?
I'm feeling convicted right now, though. I haven't had
I know.
water in a minute.
You haven't.
Oh,
Go get some water. Your
We got no
brain.
water.
Your
Good
body's
water's for everything.
60% water. My
I'll
gosh.
take one.
Hey, look. How old's this?
Old. Don't drink that.
Okay, I'll refresh it.
Water doesn't go bad.
Okay.
Water goes bad, son.
Fred wants to know if this is live. Yes, it is.
Live is
Live.
live can be.
Yes, this is live. Let's see. Brian wants to know, how are the rules laid out with every planet? Like with every planet being different.
That's a really good question. So we are getting ready to post the rule book. We're putting a lot of finesse into that, and it's about done. I'm hoping tonight or tomorrow on the main rule book. Each planet does have I don't want to say a departure. It's got its own specific set of mechanisms and ways that you're interacting. So it's going to have like a little booklet that's the size of the cards, and it's going to go in the planet box, in the game trays, slip right on top to define the keywords and kind of the what's happening on that planet. But we want it to be dramatically different, but not a lot to learn. We just want it to be, a standalone, deep kind of variant. But yeah, we should be able to do that in 4 pages, 4 of the little pages the size of a card.
Can you
So-
do that motion again, like you're turning the pages? Yeah, very
Working
good.
the
I like that a lot.
pages, working the pages.
What's the feasibility of a 5th player?
We talked about that on a live stream we did today with Board Game Exposure. We want as many players as we can get in and have it be viable. You probably could play a 5th player, but we want the turns to not be too long, and the group dynamic is really the main focus in this game. It's a study in group cohesion, and so if you have too many people in a group, it's hard to work together. It's like realistic to life, right? If you have 50 people trying to do one task, it's just chaos. A 5th player adds, a significant change to the dynamic between like a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or 1. So it's something that we're looking at, but probably not super hard yet. But if we can make it work and have it not consume too much time between player turns. There's a lot of table talk in this game, so there's a lot of interaction on every turn, so we just don't want it to bog it down.
Okay, Derek,
Uh-oh.
what's the sacred concept of this game?
Directed at Derek.
What was that?
What?
Sacred
Where am I?
concept.
What? Where?
Sacred
The
concept.
sacred concept?
Yes, what's the sacred concept
Group.
of this game?
Group cohesion.
Group cohesion.
Keep it together.
So they
Survive. Don't die.
Mhm.
That's kind of the big thing.
Don't die. That's
Survive.
right.
Don't
That's
die.
actually the gold.
Just
rule.
don't die.
So yeah, Patrick asked, he, remembered us talking about the sacred concept from Vindication, so wanted to know what it is for Unsettled. So yeah, it's basically a exploration in group cohesion.
And
like-
trust.
Like how well can you get a group to work together and in the most strange of environments, right? So
Yeah,
We
and
should
what
expound
does
on that,
and
yeah.
what does work together actually mean? Does it just mean everyone trusts each other and does their own thing?
Mhm.
Does it just mean that we're going to all get all the resources we need to this space in the same time, or does it mean that we're actually contributing to the work that each other are doing and supporting each other when we get down? Or if someone's having a hard time emotionally, someone else comes alongside them and is self-sacrificial to help them get through. What does actually working together mean, while also trying not to die because tentacles are attacking you?
Right.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this, but I'll do it again here. So everybody has personality traits in the game, and so we call them peculiarities. And as the trust meter swings from low to high or back to low, your personality traits change. And so everybody's personality traits change. And so when trust is high, some people, become really engaged because it's safe and it's comfortable and it's secure. But when trust is low, they become much more timid and they're afraid to engage. And so it's harder to do things. And that actually is a very strong, it's a small part of the game, but it's a very important part of the game. And what we're finding is the replayability is dramatic every time you play if you have different personality traits. It lets you role play a little bit. And it's something that I think really sets this game apart from a lot of what we've seen.
Okay.
So there's some depth there.
I have a few lightning round questions. One, will each planet have a playlist recommendation for what they could listen to while they're playing?
Oh,
I'm going to
love that
tentatively
idea.
commit to that
Yeah.
as a probably soday Orange Nebula Spotify.
or we could just collect them.
Two,
Yeah, from community.
will there be
Community
unsettled
one.
t-shirts?
Yeah.
What was the question?
Will there be unsettled t-shirts?
If you want them, we'll make them. You
Always,
bet.
always be merching.
Yeah, we're mindful about our merch.
And then 3, in our lightning round here, who wrote the Post-it note in somebody's thing that said that they were their favorite? Who's writing the Post-it notes that are going out in people's shipments?
Oh, that's Viola.
That's
Okay.
Viola.
Viola.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. She
Yes.
just left.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
She
she
has a
After she-
lot.
After she attacked Lacey.
yeah, she sprinted in here when she saw me come in the office and hugged me. It was, I mean, she's very sweet, but God, that was terrifying.
It was a hug.
Yeah, but it was like from
It
behind,
was a
really
person
fast.
running in off a dark street.
It was
Everybody in
scary.
the office was just like,
Nobody told me. Nobody warned me.
It
It's
was
Viola.
really
"It's the
surprise
element of
love.
surprise."
Viola's writing these messages to you. Some people get a Post-it note that says that we licked their product before we sent it. Maybe I snuck those in there. Don't worry about it.
And which part?
Look at Mark's face. He's so mad. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway.
That's not Dana.
Okay.
So William had a question.
Yes.
there.
Can one player die, leaving only 3 left players while the other sits out? So let's explain how that
Yeah.
works.
So what happens is if someone loses all of their endurance, they are knocked out. But
Unconscious.
they're knocked unconscious. But what that effectively is it triggers the end of the game, essentially. So if someone becomes unconscious, all the other players remove their personality trait, and underneath that tile is a new personality trait that they all have.
Which is called, do you know, Derek? Desperate.
Desperate.
So if one person gets knocked out, everyone else goes desperate, and they have 1 or 2 panicked turns where they're supercharged, they can't rest, they get all this extra focus, and they just go, and they have this last-ditch frantic opportunity to pull it out right at the end. And it creates some really exciting, fun moments where Lacey's carrying my unconscious body and Derek's carrying Mark's unconscious body, and we're all trying to meet back at the ship to get out of here, and then we all collapse and don't make it. And so yes, there is player elimination, but only insofar that they're out for 2 to 5 minutes at the very end of the game. And it's fun because then you have to do something with this person's limp body.
And what
You
we
saw
find
it
is
in
those
the video.
players who are eliminated temporarily just for a couple of turns are still super engaged in the conversation, and so they're still talking and integrating.
Well, because
with
at that
whole
point in the
thing.
game, like, you're really attached to your body.
right?
Like, please come rescue
Somebody
me from
come get
the
me.
pit and get me out of here.
Exactly. Okay, good response there. Logistically, how hard will it be to create a user-conceived planet? So our community planet that we're
Mhm.
working on, logistically, how hard is it to do that?
I mean, there's going to be bumpers, so
Well, I mean, even just real quick from the beginning, even like day 1 when we knew we were starting this, like in the morning, Tom sent out, hey, here's the spreadsheet where we're going to start collecting ideas. We'll be going in through that. So it's very process driven. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, logistically, everything is a nightmare. That's just the nature of logistics.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be that hard because on each of the updates, there will be a primer at the top that says, okay, now we're working on this component, this element of a planet. Here's an example of how these elements work in some of the other planets. Here's where we're at, try to stay in these parameters, and everyone's going to give all their ideas. And what's going to happen when this is over is we're going to have a whole bunch of thematically tied together concepts. And then Mark and I are going to sit down and take those ideas as inspiration to mold them around so that they make sense within the mechanics of the game. We're not necessarily going to expect backers who've never played the game to understand exactly what type of effects cards should have because they don't know the balance of things. But we will take the spirit of all their ideas your ideas and
digest them,
wrap them together.
spit them back up
and
again.
then it'll get play tested, and
something
people will
new.
tell us that this needs to change, and it'll go through the same process as all the other planets.
We've developed the system and the framework to basically do this unlimited amount of times. So that part is already done. We just have to be really creative and different with each planet, and we want the community to be involved in that, to get what they want out of the game.
And make it super weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick question. I know internally we don't love comparing games, but the question here is basically, Vindication looked super overwhelming when you put it on the table at the beginning, but once you pick up, it's very simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're wondering, complexity-wise, can you compare Unsettled to Vindication? Rules and complexity, understanding how to take your turns, etc.?
It's pretty on par with Vindication.
Complexity-wise?
I would say it might be a smidge heavier.
I would think it's a smidge lighter, actually.
So it's right there.
Yeah,
You
right
know,
right in that range.
Mhm.
It's just the smidges. We're just
Yeah,
either side,
Whichever way you want to
a
smidge.
smidge.
Smidge, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, how is the solo play handled for compensating for lack of a group? So we've been answering this quite a bit.
Mhm. So there isn't actually an official solo mode. There are no hidden information elements that would preclude you from playing in two characters and just basically playing the 2 or 3 player game by yourself. You couldn't play just one explorer because so many of the mechanics in the game require 2 people. You can get conditions in the game that require a support action from someone else. There are a lot of tasks that you need to complete that require people being in 2 different locations at the same time. The opportunities often will have something engage with the character. Now someone is being chased by critters and someone else has to come rescue them. Or I keep referencing the translucent mega worm that touches people and it like hypnotizes them, and then they carry it around and they're in love with this worm, and other people have to come and like knock them out to save them from the worm. If you were just playing by yourself, the worm card would just be the end of the game. You just wander the map forever holding the worm until you withered. And so yeah, you could play, there's nothing to stop you from playing this solo. If you look at the personality traits as kind of making a party of different people, it could actually probably be a really neat exploration of the concept that you're just exploring.
Yeah, if you
by
control the
yourself.
party
Mhm.
of people, let's say 3 explorers, and they all have different personality traits and different things, and you basically played as if you were playing like a video game and controlled all of the interactions. I was really resistant to that idea at first, but I'm really starting to warm up to it, because when you remove yourself and you're still approaching those relationships in the same fashion and basically role-playing multiple people, that is kind of interesting.
I think the reason that
needs some development, though.
I think the reason probably that we were resistant to the idea initially is because we wanted to protect the sacred concept of the game.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's
about
a
group.
study of group cohesion,
But if
shouldn't there
that's
be a
something
group?
that you're exploring on your own
Mm-hmm.
intellectually,
Really
I think it
interesting.
still protects the intent of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is it possible that we could do a rule set for that? I think so. It's definitely would be down the road a little bit.
Yeah, I don't even know that a rule set is necessary though.
Yeah, you can just
Yeah.
play the game.
I played it myself,
Are we planning to ever launch more planets in the future?
of course.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Why would we ever stop? Okay. Can an unconscious player share resources with other team members?
That's an interesting question. So all the resources are shared to begin with. So there are a couple different tiers of resource, but the basic resources, the data and the materials and the power that you use to trigger different things are all shared. The only things that aren't shared are the actual discoveries that you make, the items that you're carrying around that have little powerful effects. However, if someone's unconscious, you can come and just take those things off them, because what do they care? They're unconscious.
Mhm.
So yeah, once someone collapses, you can take all their stuff. or store your stuff on their body and then carry the.
I did that to Derek yesterday.
Like a sled.
They become like a sled. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab his wallet.
At the end of the game, Fred here wants to know, Fred, listen up, Fred. Do the players get ratings at the end to declare an MVP?
Oh man, that's your group.
No, Fred. No, they do not. You can make up your own end of game ratings if you really want to.
It's a group thing, right? It's a we win.
Mm-hmm.
The whole game. Tom and I have had thousands of conversations about this, but predominantly, is this what we should do? It's a lot less about what I should do, and more of like, oh, it's a we discussion instead of a me discussion, and that's very true. Yeah.
AWstats aren't in the game anymore, right?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Well,
That's
not stats.
your focus. They're not
It's
stats.
Yeah,
focus.
but okay. So
your blocks are still up to 3.
but we don't ever say AWstats in your. Okay, so in some of the early concepts, we talked about the idea of AWstats, which is like your awareness, wonder, and energy, how much of that you have left. And I liked that idea because I just liked the phrase AWstats. So maybe you can come up with your own internal AWstats to rank your most valuable
Like
player.
how much awe do you have at the end of the game?
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Here's another thing that's real quick on the group aspect, the group cohesion. So players can gain expertise in the different scientific disciplines. Okay, so there's applied sciences, there's formal sciences, and there's natural sciences. In the natural sciences, you can use that expertise to make concoctions and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily have to have the expertise personally, so long as the group has it. So if I want to make a pearlescent time inhalant elixir type of a thing using that. If I don't have any expertise there, but Lacey does, I can go to her node and make it because she's there, and I can gain from the group the expertise I need to do the thing. So that's another example of how that works, and I think that's an interesting way to play.
Will we have any stretch goals or upgrade options for painted miniatures?
Not at this time.
We're looking into stuff like that. I don't think
William wants it.
I have concerns about it. Yeah, I mean, it is possible for us to get those done. The cost of the game, it's interesting. This opens up kind of a bigger can of worms. So let me just address that. We always look into stuff like that. I don't know if we're going to do it right now. We may in the future decide, oh, cool, here's a set of painted minis or something like that in the future. The goal of one of the goals that we had this time was actually to make the game more affordable. And so what we've done is we've got kind of a framework that has a cost associated with it. But then every time we release a planet, it's going to be $15, right? And with tremendous amount of replayability. So we're trying to actually reduce the cost. We're trying to get the boxes small and agile so that you can just grab a planet, put it in the base game, and go to game night. And then swap them out so you're not carrying a bunch of stuff. And then over time, it's going to be much more affordable. And so those are some of the considerations. When we look at, increasing the costs and stuff like that, we're going to probably do those things separately so that people can opt into those, but we want to keep that price as low as we can.
Okay, this fits in a little bit. Is there a game board for a more immersive experience? They said it looks a little bit empty with just the cards. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I do.
Go for it.
Super dynamic to have an unexplored place that you get to decide where you want to go. Having a board actually is a lot more limiting, at least in this game and the way we've been playtesting it. Right now, you start with your ship and nothing. And so as you're playing, you might say, okay, I'm going to go up here. And I grab a card and I'm like, oh, here's what I found up here. And then Tom might either go up there and follow and kind of build off that, or he might go his own direction and kind of go over here. So it organically kind of comes out. And so every time you play, it's different. So you might have a big, long, map, or you might have one that's kind of more square or rectangular. And I think the board, although I think there's some really beautiful boards out there that can look really nice, I just didn't give us the flexibility that we wanted in this one.
Also keeps box size a little smaller.
And they're much lighter. It drives the price way down.
There could be some trust effects if you loot an unconscious body, is what somebody said too. If you're looting unconscious bodies, does that negatively affect trust?
Only when they wake up, and by that point, you've saved them.
Yes,
So
and they are eternally grateful.
Brian
They
here
don't
wants
wake
to
up.
know, are the cards used often enough that sleeving them is actually recommended? Seventh Continent is the only game they've ever played with sleeved cards because the cards are pulled so frequently.
I mean, Mark and I are not really the right people to talk to about sleeves, if we're being honest.
I don't sleeve my cards.
I don't either.
I don't care about that.
My games
I don't care if they're beat up.
Yeah.
I just, that's not our thing. But
So
a lot of people do, and so we're
Yeah.
just going to accommodate for everybody.
I will just, most of the cards are on the table. There's never really a point where you're holding cards. So they're not being bent in people's hands. They're just sitting on the table. You're taking them off a deck, and then you're putting them on your dashboard, or you're putting them in a shared space, and then they just sit there. So there's not a lot of handling of the cards.
Yeah, they're going to fit a little more snugly in the game trays, just because that's the space that they're going to be in, and they're designed to hold sleeved cards. So you'll have they'll be a little more snug. But I don't think you definitely don't have to sleeve the cards, and I would never recommend that you had to sleeve cards in any of our games.
The terrain cards will have stuff on them. I guess you'll be putting material gems on there. You'll be moving miniatures on top of them. That might be a concern for some people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you're going to put chits on the anomaly cards and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Yeah.
Justin says hi. Justin Gibbons is
Hey,
on.
Justin.
Justin.
Release the gibbons.
Okay, a couple quick ones here. Any concepts for things to change the game up, like a universal deck of effects or events that can shuffle into any planet module?
It's interesting.
That is interesting. I think I think when we start revealing as soon as possible more about the gameplay, once these videos come in
And the rule book
we get
is
the rule
finished
book
up.
out,
Right.
I think you will see how unnecessary that is.
Yeah, because they're basically talking about opportunities.
Opportunities, and so
Well, in the mechanisms, right?
Every-
So these are not scenarios, right?
No.
You're not just going to different planets and doing the same types of things.
It's different every
Each
single time.
each planet is a standalone game, right? It's not a campaign, but it's not just a thematic change. It actually affects the engineering and how the mechanisms work. It doesn't change the rules of the game, but it changes the way that you do things.
Mhm.
On some planets, you will definitely not want to do things, or what you do is going to change the way something works.
Yeah, so just for a random example, so on one planet in the game, you can get condition cards. So let's say on the Fungal Jungle planet, you go into a really nasty space, you get a condition, and on that planet, conditions are just negative. Now you're vomiting or whatever. On a different planet, it may be that you've gone too close to this crystal and now you're possessed by an alien spirit. And that the condition you have is possessed by the purple spirit. And now you can go into all the spaces that are friendly to the purple spirit, but all the green spirit places hate you. But he's possessed by the green spirit. I'm just making this up right now, by the way. But
Well, I'm not possessed.
so what the rules for how
Exactly.
condition
Just people
cards
say,
work don't
Not
change.
possessed.
You get them in a similar way, you have them in a similar way, you remove them in the similar way. The mechanics of conditions don't change, but your mental relationship to conditions and how they are contributing to what you're doing is totally different in those two totally hypothetical situations. And everything in the game works that way. All the pieces can be twisted and bent, and make it bendable was kind of the siren call for everything.
If anybody's ever played Magic the Gathering, right? They release a new
No one has played.
deck.
Never-
Nobody's
never
ever
heard of
played
it.
that. There's just new abilities on every card or in every set. They release a couple of key, abilities and those types of things that dramatically change the way gameplay can happen. It's similar to that in that vein. Not the same, but similar.
I know that this wouldn't actually fit with the mechanics, but if it was like Legacy, wouldn't it be fun if there were specific effects that followed you from planet to planet? Like maybe you picked up a hitchhiker in one planet, and then now that has to go in every one of your planet boxes when you
That
play.
is fun. Let's save that for a different game.
Yeah.
No one said legacy here.
Yeah.
I said it's not.
It's not that. It's definitely not that.
Okay. we got lots, so you need to talk faster and less, okay?
No.
Fine. Bree. Hi, Bree.
Bree.
We love you.
Bree.
This is an interesting question. Are there enough components to play in 2 separate teams on 2 different planets for a which team survives session, or would you need 2 unsettled framework boxes to do that?
You would need 2 boxes.
Yeah, because the science boards, there's only one set of those kind of
Mhm.
things, so you couldn't play both at the same time
Correct.
without 2 framework boxes.
Right.
The simple way to think about it is that the framework boxes are all the components, and the planet boxes are all the content, and you have to have both.
Combine them together.
The idea
Get out of
of
here, Justin.
the
you
idea.
gonna die.
They gonna die.
The idea of future expansions is intriguing, but how would this work for non-US fans? Seems postage and such might be a barrier for singular releases.
The nice thing about these boxes, and this is part of the reason we're releasing it the way that we are, is the planet boxes are fairly small. They're just cards and a couple chits, so they're light and they're inexpensive. So once you have the framework, getting more content is going to not be that expensive. It's underdimensional weight. It'll be fairly cheap to ship.
Yeah, that's the whole design.
It's the whole idea is let's enable expansions, so to speak, in the least expensive way possible.
Yeah, we definitely hear you on the shipping.
Yeah, trust us, we hear you on shipping.
Mm-hmm.
No one,
Believe me.
It
no
hurts
one likes
us
shipping.
on the inside.
Let's just move
It
on
hurts
right
us
now.
on the outside too. Yeah.
Robbie wants a neoprene mat with
Ooh.
empty space background for this. Somebody else said that already exists.
We like neoprene too.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out that actually becomes the shipping problem. It reintroduces that shipping problem we just talked about.
It's a
And you have to roll them up, and
cool
I
feature
do
thing or
love
something.
neoprene.
I know.
If we can help us figure that out, like international fulfillment is difficult going to 70 some countries with neoprene. If we can figure that out, we'd love to do that.
Do the planet boxes fit inside the framework box?
It's designed to have one planet in the framework box, so you can just swap it, right? So we've designed it very intentionally for your shelf display. So you've got the framework, and then you've got X amount of planets. You grab one planet, pop it in the box, and go to game night or whatever you're going to do. Over the course of time, when there's 30 or 40 planets, you're not going to want all to fit in the box, I promise you.
That's when you take somebody as a sled and then you have them pull all the boxes. And you
Yeah,
drive them.
we're going to have red wagons that you pull along.
Official unsettled red wagons.
Sleds.
Okay, Justin says, I noticed that you like to do unexpected things with your game components. The uniquely shaped cards in Vindication are a great example. I see that there are a number of components in... Oh, there's more here. I'm sorry. I'm reading
Wait.
slowly.
There's more.
Components with corners cut that you don't typically see in games. What led you to those types of design decisions? Does it increase the cost to do so?
It increased the cost for us. It doesn't increase the cost for you. And what I mean is we absorb those costs and we intentionally cut them out so that they do not get passed on.
Mm-hmm.
We do that because it helps create immersion, right? So my background is in advertising and branding, and we build visual language so that people can differentiate and remember what's unique about things. And so with Orange Nebula branded games, we want to make sure that we're doing that. A lot of times it doesn't add a functional difference, and we get a lot of comments about that. Why is it cut that way? It doesn't add any functionality. It's much more efficient to just do a square. But we think this sets us apart, and it creates a little bit more immersion. You'll notice that in Unsettled, the entire visual language is very geometric, and it uses 45-degree angles for everything. And the cards have 45-degree angle cuts on bevels on the corners. That's all intentional, and it's just intended so that when you see a card that on the floor after game night the next day, you'll know immediately that's part of Unsettled because of the way it's beveled.
Mm-hmm. Just makes everything on the table feel like a greater part of the whole, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or a part of a greater
So everything
whole.
kind of connects together.
Mm-hmm.
Have you correlated any win percentages yet for the game? If so, does it scale evenly from different player counts?
It does scale evenly. It has changed a little bit over play testing as we tweak things. This is still a game that's in development, by the way. We are not a company that finishes something and then brings it to Kickstarter and says, would you like to just buy our finished product?
Stuff, right?
Like are small enough that we are using Kickstarter for its intended purpose. So we are still in the middle of playtesting and developing this game, and the win percentage is moving. You know, sometimes playtesting is showing it in like the 70% range. Sometimes it's in the 50 to 60% range. And when we make little tweaks to things, it moves a little. So, but the win percentage is in the difficult, but not impossible, not painful. You know, it's much more in that sort of pandemic horrified range, as opposed to Ghost Stories, Robinson Crusoe, Dark Souls, the video game. Only play this if you want to never win type terror. It's winnable. Now that said, that's the standard mode. There is the masochistic I'm crazy mode. And if you want us to kill you, we will. Absolutely.
Yeah, there are modes
one.
that you will not win, and I mean that's a challenge. I'll throw it down right now.
It's just called LOL, and no one's ever won it.
And just on the heels of that, we're doing intensive playtesting. We've done a lot of playtesting. We're 3 years in on this game. Okay, so I don't want to make it sound like we're just kind of like starting playtesting. That's not true. We are deep, but we want the nuances to be very solid. So we've got like 2 more rounds, full rounds of heavy playtesting that we're going to be doing through January and even February as we tighten it up.
My mom says hi.
Hello.
Hi. Patrick wants to know, I like this one. Marriage family question. During the launch, did you have to say to your significant other, look, we're going to be MIA for 3 days. Good luck.
3 days?
No, we said that about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him since.
I don't want to belabor the intensity of these things, but yeah, I mean, we've had a number of 17, 18-hour days this week. These things are a lot of work. It's much more work than you might think.
Okay.
So, yeah,
That's
it's a
depressing.
sacrifice
Let's
from the whole family.
thank you everyone. Thank you family for
Thank
for
you,
helping
family,
this.
indeed.
Would you be making only the framework box available for purchase as an add-on or something?
Well, then you wouldn't be able to play. So the framework is the component box, and then the planet boxes are the content boxes. And so you have to have at least one match.
We have gotten a number of questions about, well, why can't we have just the framework in one planet, or why can't I just have 2 planets? And the honest answer to that question is because we are committed to making this game as inexpensive as possible for everyone. And when we produce the same amount of framework boxes and planet boxes, we get manufacturing efficiencies that drive the price down for everything. So right now, the pledge is $89 and you get 4 planets. If we made a pledge where you could have the framework in one planet and then another one that's everything, your quantities go off, and then that framework in one planet ends up being marginally less than that $89.
It's way worse than that.
And the full one goes way up, and it just...
It changes all of fulfillment because now we have different sized boxes and different SKUs. I mean, the complications, it's hundreds of hours of labor to even think about that. The price would skyrocket.
So these decisions are definitely
just no.
That you could have answered it that way.
Well, but
we don't want to know why.
Because it does make sense that, well, why can't I just have one planet and pay less money? But when you spreadsheet it out, just having one planet is going to cost you no less money, and you only have one planet.
Exactly.
It's just
we're building it for economies.
Fred, who was our MVP question guy, hey Fred, he says in the future, if we're going to do 30 to 40 new planets at some point, $15 per planet, maybe we can buy solar system packages for savings.
If we reach planet 40,
funny that you mentioned that because we've
seems
already
fair. Yeah.
See, look there. That's the kind of answer I'm looking for. Just a yes is fine.
Okay,
we're just gonna do it.
The next question is
whatever Fred says from here on out.
Okay. If the design for the game is quite modular, would you ever be making? Oh, that's exactly the same question. Okay, never mind. So what's the answer?
I don't remember.
Would you make the just?
I don't know. Yes.
No.
Maybe.
I'll say no. Yes.
I will not commit to an answer.
We're committed to yes nos. It's happening.
Maybe.
Sean wants to see a gameplay video. We know.
No,
it's coming.
So do we, man.
Those are coming. We seized the opportunity to get into Kickstarter during a season when everybody's not in that space with us.
And the thing with planning these campaigns and getting these videos out and getting the rule book done is we have to make all these plans months in advance. and all the other different third-party people we're working with, and everyone's schedules kind of fluctuate and change and move, and everything doesn't always end at the finish line right at the same time, and sometimes it's just not as planned. They are coming, absolutely.
Promise.
And in the meantime, we're going to swerve. And before this, I was working on an update that starts getting into the mechanics of the game. I'm going to do those routinely and just explain the mechanics in the updates. We're also happy to explain them in these things if you have any questions. But we will, there's not any intentional like obfuscating of the mechanics. We're so excited about this game and proud of this game. Honestly, we wish that you could see all of it right now so you could be as excited about it as we are. It is awesome.
This game is awesome.
So
it really is.
And I feel no shame saying that. I love this game. So we want you to see it all, and we're going to do everything we can to share it with you. Is that short enough for you, Lacey?
Yeah, you did better.
Okay.
I'm not bored yet. That's my problem.
Too long.
Okay. Brian says, here's a solution for the Neoprene Mat.
Nice.
We could just release it on the website, instead of having it actually go through Kickstarter. We could release it on a website. And on one side, it has empty space looking, and on the other side, it has the 4 planets in relation to each other throughout the galaxy.
Interesting.
Very
I like the way you think.
Yes, Brian. Justin
I will consider that.
Justin is giving us some love, just saying you notice the geometry on the cards and some other things that just make the game look like this is Orange Nebula.
That's awesome.
So
it's wonderful to have that be appreciated.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
we do put a lot of heart into that.
and it sounds like William is getting the fact that finally a game where you actually feel a sense of urgency.
Yes. Yes.
This is a fun one. You can say longer answers on this one.
Thank you.
What media,
Granted.
books, movies, etc., if anything, are you drawing influence from to guide the look and feel of the game?
Oh my goodness. What are we not?
Okay.
What are we not?
Look and feel.
I will say, just kind of conceptually, when I am working on this game, where my heart is science fiction books from the 60s and 70s. Classic Asimov, Heinlein type stuff. When everything wasn't blasters and space marines, and it was much more
War.
about, hippie science
Exploration,
fiction,
yeah.
basically, is kind of what I'm drawing from.
With regard to your question about the look and feel, I did the graphic design on the game, and my goal was to make it the balance between recognizable as sci-fi genre so that we could get people who love that, but also have it be something that they haven't seen, something new. And so the geometry is part of that. The fact that it's got this big, bright, pink, purpley color on the cover and that doesn't look like every other game out there, that doesn't have a big illustration on the front of somebody holding a gun or something. Like, I don't know if I'm drawing inspiration from what else is out there. I'm trying to draw inspiration from myself. I don't want to make that sound weird, but I'm trying to come up with something new.
I think that is a through line for everything that we work on here. When we talk about the things that inspire us on any of our projects, it's usually super unrelated. It's not other games. It's not.
Yeah, what
Yes.
I think about like the glowworm, the hallucinating glowworm. I was saying it's more like a Douglas Adams style thing, right? It's just so bizarre and so like kind of funny.
Well, I love those books.
Yeah.
So that's
Hitchhiker's Guide.
totally.
And it floats really well between those two spaces.
Yeah, and we do draw inspiration from everything that we're into. So anything that has world building kind of feeds that imagination a little bit. So everything that I see, everything I watch has probably helped. Everything I read.
Renee said on this vein, a lot of the recent art reminds me of the Monster Hunter world. Was there any inspiration from that game?
I've
Not
actually not
specifically.
played
I don't know
Not
that
familiar.
game,
any games from the last.
but I'm going to
5
check it out now. That sounds cool.
And then Mike Vanderveen. Hi,
Hey,
Mike.
Mike.
He says, and I'll just read this because I like it. Very much agree on the awesomeness of the game. Have been introduced in person and play testing tonight. Headed out. Love you guys.
Go get it, man.
Sweet.
Go
We
break
love
it.
you, Mike. Thank you for being awesome, Craig says. You're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay.
You're so well. Okay, this is a fun one. This is from Bree. My daughter saw the Kickstarter video and asked me, Mommy, is this real? I told her it was a game, and now she's excited too, although she thought that the game actually caused hallucinations and was disappointed to find out that that is not the case. Are there any kid-unfriendly cards or conditions?
Good question.
I mean, I guess
Unfriendly?
that's kind of relative to
There's
the
no
age of the
adult
kid.
content.
Yeah,
in
there's
the
no
game.
swearing, there's nothing sexual, there's no like violence.
Mhm.
So, I
But-
mean, if you don't mind getting
Bizarre
eaten by
space.
tentacles.
The vocabulary in the game is inspired by straight science. So you're gonna have a lot of complicated terminology in the game, which is I think going to be the only really distancing piece. But that might be an educational thing too, right? So if you go to the myxogastria ball pit, or if you're dealing with electromagnetic polypores and stuff like that, like those are real things in the game. But I think that's fully educational. That's based on real science, right? Science fiction based on real science. But there's no adult content, if that helps.
It's exactly like real life ball
Exactly.
pits. Yeah.
Have you considered a planet box that's that the location is actually in the survivor's ship or home base?
Yes,
Tell me more.
but go on.
I mean, that's most of what I'm getting here. The survivor's ship or home base, would it be viable or interesting for Unsettled to do something like that?
That's a fantastic idea. We do have some ideas around that that aren't going to make it into this campaign. But I would love to hear more about what you're thinking. You should send us a message. We can wrap it into what we're working on.
Fred, our MVP of the night, says, I hope everyone backing or thinking of backing watches this video. So informative, and you guys rock.
Aw,
Thank
You
you.
rock, Fred.
Yeah.
You're making the night.
You're the MVP
Seriously.
tonight, Fred. Okay, I don't want to do that one yet, but we'll do it soon, Brian. Dinah says she's falling in love with you all over again.
aw.
She's talking to me.
Oh,
She's probably.
Really?
She's probably
She
talking
said
to
all
Lacey.
of you all over
she's
again.
probably
Fair
talking to me.
enough.
She's probably talking to me.
Yeah.
I'll accept it. Okay. Do you want to walk us through what a typical turn looks like? They want to know if you act as a group or as an individual.
Absolutely. So on your turn, you have your 3 blocks in front of you. I wish we had a prototype, but you have 3 blocks in front of you. They're, imagine D6 dice, except you don't treat them as dice. They're just blocks. And all you use on them are, there's a sequence of numbers that go around it, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then, or excuse me, 3, 2, 1, and then 0 is time. And then the 2 sides are non-functional. They just have the icon of the type of focus that you're using.
Like that.
So that's what they look like. But what they are your focus. You have your awareness, your wonder, and your energy. And then you have a quantity of each of those. So maybe at the start of the game, you have 3 of each. You have 3, you're fully aware, fully full of wonder, fully energetic. And then you set those focus on actions that occur all around the game space. So some of them are on your dashboard, the little personal things that you do. Things reveal themselves in the environment. And so what you do is you focus your wonder on a wonder action space. And when you focus it, you pip it down. So if you start with 3 wonder and you want to use some wonder to gather some materials, you will pip it down. Now you have 2 wonder left and you get to take some materials. And maybe you use some awareness to interact with these screaming frogs, and then you get these screaming frogs, and now you have 2 awareness, and then you're going to use 2 energy to do a power boost thing with your suit, and then you move over here, a little teleport. So you've taken your 3 focus, you've focused on actions, decreasing them as you place them, and then you bring them all home. You also have a movement in there that you can use whenever you want, and that's basically your turn. So it's an action selection mechanism where you're placing your focus on action spaces that come and go and change all over the map, and then it goes to the next person. If one thing that's really neat about the focus is the quantity on them is 3, 2, 1 time. When it reaches time, which is effectively 0, you don't lose any agency. You can continue to take actions with totally spent focus, but you are exhausted. You need to rest. And if you continue to take actions when you're burnt out like that, it just takes you longer. So if you're placing a focus die and it has a time symbol showing, each time you place it, you have to advance time on the timeline, and time triggers all sorts of effects and things that can happen. So you can continue to take actions, but it just costs extra time. So at a certain point, you have to balance, okay, I'm gonna focus my awareness and my wonder, but this turn I'm gonna rest my energy, which pips it up again. So you have to kind of balance how much you're using your things, how much you're expending yourself. One of the really interesting mechanics of the game, the elements of that, is you will not make it if you don't choose to use time. So there will be times where, you know what, I'm doing this anyway, and it costs time, and you have to advance the timeline, and things happen, but you know what, you are overextending yourself to get the job done because that's what the situation
Like a
calls for.
Kickstarter launch.
Mhm.
If you try to play, if you try to play efficiently and you don't take any risks, then you will die.
Mm-hmm. Which I believe would probably be the case.
You have to
in
make
this situation.
sacrifices in order to win. And here's another interesting aspect of the game. So everybody has these personality peculiarities. Did I already talk about that?
A little.
And they flip when trust goes up and down. So when you take actions, a lot of the discussions that you're having are, well, Derek's in the best position to do that, but Derek's not in the mood to do that, or he's not in a mental position to do, because he basically wants to be alone. He doesn't want to,
or he's scared.
Yeah.
or he's scared. He can't be on a node with another player. We suffer this. So it's like, okay, well, now Lacey has to go over there and do that, right? And so that dynamic makes it a really, really fun, rewarding experience when you win, because you're leveraging everybody else's strengths in the game. As things shift from high trust to low trust and back, those dynamics change dynamically as well. So it's super interesting, and the replayability on the traits is really fun.
One of the things we found with those traits that's really interesting is that just bringing that discussion to the above the table discussion in a cooperative game has had the effect of kind of neutralizing alpha gamer in a co-op game. So there's nothing that the game mechanically does to stop the alpha gamer from telling people what to do. There's no hidden information. The alpha gamer can still alpha game. But what we have found, and what we've heard a lot from playtesters, is when you're playing and you have a tile in front of you that says you're aggressive, and you have a tile in front of you that says you're feeling timid because of my aggression, and he has a tile that says that he's feeling like egotistical or whatever, and you're actually discussing those things while you're playing, it puts everyone in this frame of mind where everyone becomes a little more self-aware.
Right.
So your egotistic state is affecting me this way, and your timid state is affecting everybody else this way.
And so then people notice their own behavior when they start bossing someone around, and there's literally a card in the game that says, like, you're bossy. Even if you're not the one that has it, you're still kind of thinking about that. And other players at the table, because you're already talking about personality traits, are more willing to call people out on things, or they at least notice it more in a way that they're willing to talk about.
And it brings you together. And when you're playing the game, it actually,
cohesion.
so when you win, it's super satisfying when you win X% of the time.
Which is, I think, it was an accidental solution to the alpha gamer problem, because it doesn't mechanically remove them. It creates a discussion that can help them almost, I don't want to say grow past it, but kind of in the moment.
Okay, so like there was one question that was, how do you control the alpha gamer in this co-op? And it's more like you just bring it to light. Like we're actually discussing
the game
it.
Kind of asks you to think about it out loud.
Yeah,
which is also called thinking out loud.
Well, there is a personality trait in the game, and I can't remember the exact name for it. I think it's egotistical or something like that, where other players can't talk on your turn because you don't care. I think it's arrogant.
Yeah.
Because you don't care what they think. That's a really interesting, and it only happens when trust is at one phase. When you turn that over, you become super powerful because you have your personality manifests itself differently.
Because group trust has changed.
It's just really interesting dynamic when there's so much table talk, and then to have your turn, everybody kind of just shushes up because what they say doesn't seem to matter to you right now.
And some gamers really won't like that tile, and
it's true.
You can choose not to play with it. There are 8 or 9 of these in the game. You only need 4 So if that almost role-playing tile isn't one that speaks to you, just don't. I don't want everyone to get freaked out.
Or try it.
Right.
Or
by
try
the
it if you
inclusion of
don't
that
like
tile,
it. But try it
yeah.
before you decide.
Okay, this is a good gameplay kind of question. For the existing planet boxes, do you just strive to survive, or have you also inserted some story or lore for the planet you're on? Like, for example, a high tower that's glowing and possibly day and night. Then the cards that you play with actually give you some background on that, or maybe even explore the tower so you uncover the history of it.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is you're going to have the type of experience that you want. So the idea is that it's meant to be a kind of tell your own story adventure. So when you set down on the planet, each planet box comes with a little booklet in it that will have some really basic information about the planet that you would conceivably know just by scanning it as you land down on it. So you know, like, a basic environmental gist of what's going on. But then what happens is when you're playing the game, you start the game and you have several tasks that you need to complete, your objectives that you're there. We need to repair the CO2 scrubber, and we need to, find 6 things that qualify as food. So you're setting out and you're doing those things. But then while you're doing those things, you will encounter opportunities on the planet. So an opportunity card comes out and has whatever effect, but each of those cards has a little bit of a narrative, and then a thing happens. So, for example, Mark may be working his way back to the ship, and I used this example earlier, but I'm going to recycle it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark may be working his way back to the ship, and he's got this sponge, and we need this sponge to repair the CO2 scrubber. But then some critters jump out of the ground, and they grab the sponge, and they run away. And then Lacey's right there to try to catch them, but she's holding the stupid translucent mega worm.
I can't help it. I love it so much.
So then we have to send the robot over there to take that worm off her, so then she can chase the critters to go and get the sponge thing. And Derek tries to run over there and makes a stupid decision to run through the swamp, and then he gets stung by these bugs. Now he's floating. And so this is just
chaos.
Yeah. And so that is a story that gets created by just kind of the way that these cards come out. Now, each planet, all these cards, every single one of them, the things you're trying to do to survive, all of them change completely. Every single card in the game changes when you switch a planet. So the environment you're playing in, the type of things you're encountering, the things you're trying to do, your objectives, your quests, so to speak, all of that changes. So on a different planet, it may be all about collecting the right combinations of rune stones to activate pillars, to open gateways and move around. And then the things that come out are, these big golem guys that try to eat you. And so then a whole different type of story develops there. And so I think the living world that tells a little story as you play experience that it sounds like you're looking for is exactly what we're trying to do with this.
Yeah, there's loose guidelines that give you narrative, but you still get to tell your own story every time you play. So, for example, all of those things that Tom just described are going to be true, but if we have 50 groups, they're all going to play that same planet, but they're all going to have different experiences because of how things unfold and the dynamics of their group. And so it becomes very organic and very replayable every time. And so that's kind of the balance that we're going for. But it always has a survival theme. So to answer that question, yes, you're always trying to survive, but you're just trying to survive here now. Right? Maybe your life isn't in danger, but maybe, or your health isn't in danger, but maybe you're just trapped and you can't get out now until you figure out the riddle. Right? That could be anything.
And there are way more cards in every box than you will come close to seeing on any one playthrough. And they all will combine in different ways. And the way that things relate to each other is so variable that it's basically impossible to play the same game twice. Even the items on the planet that you find, so if I find this frog and the frog has this food characteristic, every time you find a discovery, often they have their own little characteristic that's baked into that thing. But every single time you also draw an anomaly card, and it's a unique effect and property that item has. So this time,
so that's a combination.
The frog that is food is also, it makes you hover, and it's useful for repairing such and such thing. But the next time it's food and it's some completely different thing that's good for a different task.
And the next time you play the game, it might be a glowing rock that's food.
Mhm.
And this time the frog has a different quality.
Yeah, so everything changes, the opportunities that you encounter and what they do to you and how those change the quests that you're trying to do. The quests are called survival tasks, by the way. I keep saying quests just for frame of reference.
Mhm.
There are a whole stack of the survival tasks that you can choose when you play, so you're not just trying to do the same thing on this planet every time. You start with a different combination, you know, so you start with 2 of a mix of, let's just say 6 or 8, and then as you're playing, more of those can be revealed too. So maybe you're trying to do those 2 things I mentioned earlier, but then while you're doing that, the ship gets sucked underground and everyone's infected by some virus, and so now you have to solve those things as well before you
Die.
Yeah. And all these things combine totally differently every time.
Okay, a few things. Justin and Renee both need a little support. They're feeling really sad right now because they have to wait so long to get the game. They would like it now that they're understanding more. They would like it in their hands now. So
Us too.
Me too.
maybe we could spore rift the game
There
here.
you go.
It's so
Earlier.
great.
Look for that on
Uh-huh.
one.
William mentions, I love how this promotes personal thought along with game strategy focus. So let's let you in. Those of you who have stayed for an hour of this live stream, let's let you in on a little secret. Every Orange Nebula product or game will promote some personal thought-provoking stuff.
I think so. Yeah.
Probably. We can't help ourselves.
We can't help her.
It's
There's
just
like
what's
that's the
interesting to
purpose of
us.
our
Yeah.
existence is to do something that actually makes your life better after using it or playing it or seeing it or whatever.
Has an
So
impact.
that's your secret gift for staying here for an hour. Every Orange Nebula product is going to be like that. It's going to be thought-provoking and make you better. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? What else? I can't believe y'all are still sticking with us. So each planet is completely unique.
For sure.
Yes.
Radically.
Absurdly unique.
Okay. Cedric wants to know, have you developed the game with scientists, biologists, physicists, geologists, engineers, sci-fi writers, explorers? No, just Teresa.
We
Living encyclopedia.
the,
So we've studied a lot. We have not run any of the concepts by actual scientists. We are also knowingly stretching things because it's science fiction.
Yeah.
So
Liberties.
it's not meant to be like true science. It's just meant to be inspired by conceptual science, if that makes sense.
but we
have
we
studied
research a
ton.
lot
Mhm.
online.
Dr. Google.
One of
Yeah, Dr.
it's-
Google.
it's fun, you know, and that's where some of the inspiration for some of these things have come from, you know. So when I was designing a lot of the things that can go wrong with the ship, the first thing I had to do was figure out, how does our ship work?
Right.
You know, well, what kind of engines do we have? And then what do you need for that? And what kind of backup systems do we have? And how do we recycle oxygen? And I was like, okay, so you've got oxygen and hydrogen and carbon dioxide, and what recycles that? And how do those things all relate? And I've got this big, crazy map somewhere with all these arrows of what influences what. And if this breaks, then we'll have to insert some new system here. And, you know, so there's a ton of research there.
I'd like to see pictures of that.
I'll find that. And
That would be great.
so the fungal planet, it's like, well, okay, let's read about fungus for hours
Mhm.
and
Weeks.
weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we do a lot of fun, ridiculous research in this job.
And Teresa really does come in really handy. I don't know if you know this about Teresa yet, but she's got, I mean, can you explain it, Derek?
She's got blue hair.
Well, not just that. I'm not talking about her hair.
No, she is a very inquisitive person.
She knows so
She
much.
wants
She's a
to know
Vulcan.
so much.
Well, what did we describe her mind as being like? It's like a
Filing cabinet.
or what,
Vulcan Jedi.
what's the library like?
Oh, card catalog.
Yeah, she's got this like crazy card catalog brain.
She loves to learn.
Yeah, Teresa will come in and say that she watched 6 documentaries about mummies this weekend. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah.
let's do something about mummies. Like,
You can,
let's.
you can ask her, like, okay, so if we had this creature and it had this type of body, how would it react? And she'd be like, oh, well, I watched this documentary that says
Mhm.
da-da-da-da-da, and it would probably actually only have one hole, which is called the cloaca. And then
Yeah.
Go ahead and Google cloaca for yourself.
Yeah, have fun with that. So Cedric, yeah, we do have some playtesters that are scientists though, and they've really connected with the terminology in the game.
Okay. Are we seeing any playtesters actually acting out the personality traits of their characters?
Actually, we
100%.
met with just recently. We met with another group, and they were saying that they were role playing and actually changing their voice as they were playing the game.
That surprised
on their
me,
character.
but it made me very happy.
That is a huge win. We love hearing that. Yeah, so we are seeing that.
And that's not necessary. I don't want to create the impression that this is some kind
It's
of
mandatory. We have to.
party game. It's not by any stretch of the imagination.
It's too
but
thinky
the
for that.
possibility is there. Yeah.
Thinky.
Yeah,
It's a crunchy game. Like you can sit down and play this as a crunchy board gamer.
It's a
and
thinky,
enjoy
crunchy
it.
game.
But
Thinky, crunchy.
if you want to get into
Is
that,
that on
the
the-
potential exists.
Is that on the campaign page? Thinky, crunchy.
Thinky crunchy. Survive, don't die.
Tagline
Don't
of
die,
Unsettled.
don't
It's
die,
thinky,
don't die,
it's
don't
crunchy,
die.
survive, don't die. Brian wants to know if the traits are randomly assigned at the start of each game, or do you get any choice, like take two, pick one?
So I will say in this and in all things, it's your game. Do what's going to make it best for you.
Mhm.
Now, in the rules right now, it says everyone gets two. You pick one and move on. You can also, it will literally say in the rules, if your group needs it, that you may draft them or you may just choose them as a discussion. So we will put in the rules all three of those options so that whatever you think will be the best experience for your group, it is supported by the rules and you are free to do it.
You're free to do it even if it's not supported by
Can
the rules,
new
'cause it's
traits-
yours.
Some people don't feel that way though. So there it
That's
is.
Can new traits be acquired or swapped during the game?
We have talked about that as being the type of crazy thing that can happen. Like, oh, you have ingested, this blue gem, and now all of a sudden you're totally different. We haven't.
It doesn't exist
It
on
doesn't
a planet
exist
right
yet,
now, but yeah, we're probably
it's
going
a
to go
very
there.
cool concept.
Sorry, I'm reading this one. It looks really interesting.
How about reading it out loud so we can all engage with?
Do you think it's possible to have a planet box that has another planet box inside it? And the concept of that box is that there is a chance that the survivors could get shifted or teleported to the other planet, or maybe not another planet box inside, but the scenario forces you to randomly pick another planet box. Can something like that work for Unsettled?
The fun thing about Unsettled is, and I'm so encouraged by the amount of crazy ideas we're hearing right now, is that all of these things are conceivably possible. And that is what excites us so much about this whole framework thing.
Yep.
Is that everything you just mentioned, totally viable idea. Let's make it. It costs $15.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, not 50.
yeah. So that all of these things are possible. That reminds me of my laptop dream.
Wait,
What?
What?
I
laptop
fell
dream?
asleep earlier and I had this dream within a dream so I was sitting on the couch and the pillow fell down.
Uh-huh.
And in my dream, I woke up. I thought my laptop fell down, but I woke up and my laptop was on the table. And I was, oh, good. And then I woke up and my laptop wasn't there. And I thought, what's going on? And then I woke up again
Oh my
and I wasn't even on the same couch. And yeah, this was earlier today.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like what they're saying.
Exactly.
A
This is
planet
What
box
happens when
within
you
a
work too
planet
many
box.
hours. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're
That's
tired.
So after this, I'm going to go
Inception.
write a thing and it's going to be great.
Okay, that's all the questions we have. Oh, wait, are there rules for multiple traits, like multiple personalities?
Not
Sean,
yet.
Not
But
yet.
why not?
Sean, I don't know about that. I don't know, Sean.
Actually, the way that the traits slot. So on your dashboard, you have
Oh,
three.
no. Are you going there?
I am. This is awesome because it works so well. Okay, so on your dashboard, I wish we could throw things up on the screen right now, but on your dashboard, you have these three
I've lost
slots
all control.
that are called your capacity. So that these are like your capacity for being, right? Part of it is one of those slots is always dedicated to your personality. So conceptually, your personality is something that you have to deal with at all times. And that card could have just gone anywhere, but it's in your capacity just to drive home that message. Then the other two spots are available for you to put your discoveries that you're carrying around or conditions that you take on. So you can carry two discoveries, but if you happen to, be infected and terrified, those two things are taking up a lot of your personal capacity and you can't focus on carrying around stuff.
I can relate to that in my real life.
Now, if you had a second personality, it could fit into now you've got two personalities consuming a whole bunch of your mental capacity in existence, you're wrestling with both of these personalities, and you only have a little bit of room left for other stuff.
For discoveries
Yeah.
or
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm super digging this. Well done, Sean.
Great.
So we've got
Now
multiple
now I have to
personalities
disappear for a few
and
hours.
planets within planets. Okay, it looks like people are happy. Sounds like Tom needs a caffeine planet box.
No.
We've been pounding that caffeine today.
Pillow
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah, seriously.
Pillow Planet. That sounds great.
Pillow planet.
Oh, that sounds fun though, doesn't it?
Pillow
Okay.
Fight Planet.
I think we've come to the gosh. You could
Pillow
warn
fight
me.
All the-
Haha.
Oh, you're sitting on that one.
Please don't pillow fight
I
me.
just realized that there's a camera there. I was like, she's not gonna know. I realized she's
Watching you on TV.
All right. We appreciate you all so much. Thanks for hanging out with us for
Yeah,
an hour and
yeah,
12
it's
minutes.
fine.
We'll do this again soon.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for being part of it.
We missed
Really.
the Kickstarter live function, so hopefully this'll do for now for this campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they get rid of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
The function's
Oh.
gone.
I had no idea.
Come on,
Okay.
Digital Derek.
Get with the times, yeah.
Gosh,
Nice hat. They're calling me super glue, by the way,
Super
that's
glue.
fair.
within the group.
Mhm.
I'm the super glue.
She
Oh,
holds us together
true.
so we don't just like vibrate and separate. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are the group cohesion.
Aww. I like it. Okay, everybody's
I'm gonna
doing
change your- I'm
lots
gonna
of
change your
nice
name
little
on the
goodbyes.
Your title.
Group
Super glue.
cohesion, super
Call
glue.
them
Yeah.
super glue.
There we go.
Okay, all right.
Plastic
Lots of
glue.
love
I'll be
comments
Gorilla
coming,
Glue.
but we love you all too. We'll see you in the comments
Mm-hmm.
in and out, in 15 minutes or so. After Tom takes another nap within a nap within a nap within a nap.
I'm probably in a nap right now.
You're probably
That's
right.
true.
Wake
You wake up and you're like, oh god, it's time to start the the
Right,
Facebook
yeah.
Live.
Okay, let's live stream. But now I know what I'm gonna say. I'm prepared.
Or maybe you'll wake up and forget everything.
Maybe I'll wake up and I'll be 8 years old.
Wow.
That would be awesome.
I read-
Can I do that?
I
would
oh
love
my
that.
gosh.
Would you? Your
Yeah.
mom's probably
What'd
watching
you
right
read?
now. Say
What'd you
hi to
read?
your
What'd you
mom.
read?
It was my mom?
No,
Oh.
Mark's mom.
Could she be my mom too?
She loves me. She'll be your mom too.
Thank
You
you.
be my brother.
There
You already
was
are
this
my
thing-
brother.
Boom. No, there's this thing on Reddit.
Brothers.
There was this guy who lived an entire life, and then he woke up, and it was like he like remembers it so vividly. Like he got married, he had kids, then he woke up. It was the saddest thing I've ever
Devastating.
read.
On Reddit?
I've said that about most things I've read on Reddit.
Yeah, that's true. It
I
was the
don't go
saddest
on
thing I've
Reddit for
ever
that
read.
reason. I prefer positivity in my life.
I didn't know it was gonna be that way until I finished, and I was
You're
like, man,
pretty
I'm
awesome.
sad.
Thanks.
Super glue.
So I just go along for the ride.
All right, get us out of here before we scare these people.
Yeah, really.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
They're
everyone.
they're still watching us.
They're waiting for
Please
Like, are they done?
Go away, save yourselves.
Oh my god,
Yes!
that's too much.
Did it!
I'm trying. Ow! I have to push a second button.